Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Royalty Room. Today is very important to me because we have a repeat guest for the first and only time. We got the ballet beat girl, my sissy, in the building.
Hey.
Hi.
Hi.
Welcome back.
Thank you for
Thanks for
having me.
thanks for coming. I feel like we could talk about anything for hours. And for those who don't know, this is really my sister. Like, we grew up together because we have the same mom. Like, so people like to get that I don't know, lost in translation somewhere. Like, this is my real sister.
Right.
And this show is about three things. We're about entertainment, we're about law, and we're about mental health. And although I am the law and the attorney, entertainment and mental health is what we're going to focus on today. And you just so happen to be a wonderful choreographer and dancer. And we haven't touched on that area of the industry in my show at all, ever.
Oh,
And so I feel like I've been wanting to have an episode about the dance industry
mhm.
because dancers are probably, arguably, the most important piece of a performance, a show, and art. So I kind of do want to focus on that.
Okay.
But we also have my baby niece that was
Mhm.
just born.
Yes.
So, the transition in entertainment of into motherhood,
Yeah.
I kind of want to focus on that as well. So, where do you want to start? I'll let you pick.
Well, I just recently had a baby girl. Her name is Christian with a K. And she's here with us on set, which I think is so cool.
But y'all can't see her because we're not gonna have another Halo moment. Okay,
Yeah, we just decided that we'll let her decide if she wants to be on camera
that's good.
when the time comes, you know what I mean? But yeah, I just had her in July. So I'm really new to motherhood and it's been an amazing journey. It's been so much fun. It's been really stressful. It's been tiring. It's been all the things. And so I'm looking forward to talking about the transition from what I was pursuing to where I am now and the toll that that transition and being a mother has taken on my mental health. I think it aligns with what you do on this show.
Her. Okay. So, um, dancers again, arguably the most important piece of a performance, and nobody likes to group dancers in with athletes, but you're a professional athlete.
Yeah.
And I don't know where I got this because I've known this for a while, but dance is one of the toughest sports on your body
Yeah.
that exists.
Right.
So with that being said, how long have you been doing this? Like, give us all the tea because you're not
Mhm.
the average booty popping dancer
Yeah.
on tour.
Yeah, so I started dancing at the age of 3, and I began dancing because I had juvenile arthritis in my ankles. And I woke up in the middle of the night and I was screaming, and we went to the hospital. And there's not really any medication that were able to give me at the time. And they said that for physical therapy, they should put me in ballet because it's something that stretches the muscles and like really works through the joints and everything. And so that's where it started. And it's interesting because I never was one of those people who grew up watching music videos and was like, "I wanna do that." I got into it as physical therapy and just so happened to be good at it,
Wow.
and then it, began this almost 20 plus year journey.
Yeah, what is it, like 23 now?
It's up there, yeah, about
23
23
years. And
years.
side note, I did not know this crying in the middle of the night story because our childhood was a little bit tumultuous. We
Yeah,
were together for a while,
yeah,
and then after that, we grew up as only children in two separate states.
yeah.
So there's a lot of like pieces like of each other's lives. Like we weren't like, oh hey, this happened today because
Right.
I'm 7 years
And I
old.
mean, I was a child, and I had to remember this for myself when I became an adult and started pursuing a different genre of dance because I grew up basically doing a lot of contemporary, modern, and ballet work. And when I came to is
Oh,
that
that's that girl.
yeah, so that's where all that training comes into play. But when I moved to LA, And even before I came to LA, I started dancing at a studio when I was a teenager, and they really wanted me to take over teaching hip hop there. Because they felt like I was able to be in a leadership position and I was good at that style just because of my personality, the spunk that I, acquire. And so when I moved to Los Angeles, I really wanted to dive into the hip hop scene because I had no like real foundational training coming from Pittsburgh aside from what I had grabbed at Millennium in my last 2 years of being in the state, which was wonderful. Like shout out Gabe Ash, Antoine, LJ Duncan. We They were amazing, but I only got just a little bit of that.
Mhm.
And so when I came to LA, I was really not good at the style. And it was really uncomfortable to watch. And so I spent the last 6 or so years really training that style and getting that into my body. Yeah, shout out my daughter.
Why did you pick LA over like New York?
So I went to go visit New York the first time with you and your dad, and then
Mm.
I went to New York the following summer to go to AMDA dance camp. And then the summer after that of my senior year, I did Joffrey camp out there. And each experience, it got better with time. But the first time I was in New York, it was a real culture shock, right? Like we always claim Pittsburgh, however, like we are from 40 minutes south of Pittsburgh, so super cowgirl right here, super
I like to
country.
call it country ghetto.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Like we're city adjacent.
Mhm.
And so when I went to New York for the first time, I was like, "Oh my goodness, what is that? What is the smell? I can't even.
Rats.
There's I mean, and then everything was so expensive. I just couldn't. And then the next time that I went for AMDA camp, it was a wonderful time. I really excelled at that program that I was at. I met a really great friend who I carried on until I came out here, Shania. Like, yeah, she was my friend for a really long time. And then the following year, I was a senior in high school. I had been to the city, and this program was less like you have to hold hands when we go outside
Right.
because that's how AMD camp was. And I really enjoyed it. But I am from Pennsylvania, which is near. It's cold. It snows. It's all the things. And I didn't really want to be in another place that had all of the, elements. And I just felt like New York was a little too close to home. I felt as if I went up there, it would have been like, "Oh, well, I only live 6 hours away, I'll just go home."
Right.
Um,
And that could be a setup.
and in these times of going to New York, I actually came over to LA with Millennium, and when I came here, I was like, "This is it. I love it." There was, like, palm trees, it was warm, people were cool, it was relaxed, it just was more my style, and my speed as far as my personality goes.
So I've heard a lot of people say like you go to LA in dance. You go to LA for one thing and you go to New York for one thing. What is that like difference?
So, I would say you go to New York if you really want to train as far as
Like to really learn the craft.
yeah, to train as far as like the fundamentals of the styles, which I mean, of course, in New York they have a lot of hip hop dancing that comes from the streets. That comes from the streets. Like their
Mhm.
community up there is unmatched, and I just learned that with the last summer that I spent in New York as an adult. It was my first time in New York as an adult. But LA is more for performance, more
It's for the
of
show.
yeah,
Of
you know
course
what
it
I mean?
is.
So I would say you go to New York to kind of to really, really train, really get your feet wet. And over here is to polish and to perform.
Mm. Okay.
Which is this is all like could be argued. I don't want to offend anybody.
I don't
Allegedly.
think we've said anything offensive yet.
Allegedly.
But so with all of that being said, you've done a lot in your career. Your resume speaks for itself. How in being a professional athlete
Hmm.
for your career, how do you go from being so active and such an athletic person
Mhm.
to sitting down for 9 months to grow my favorite human.
Yeah, this is a big one. I appreciate the comment of you saying like, um, giving me my flowers as far as the things that I've done. However, when I look at it, I don't feel as if I've done everything that I wanted to do.
Girl, I feel this. Listen,
You
I
know what I mean?
this month makes my 5th year anniversary as an attorney,
Yeah.
and I feel like I just graduated yesterday
Yeah.
because until you hit 10 years as an attorney,
Mhm.
nobody's putting respect on your name.
Yeah.
I get
Yeah.
it. I get it.
So,
But you have to like, and that's a thing that we do.
yeah.
You have to acknowledge how far you've come and all of the accomplishments you've already checked off the boxes.
Right.
Because if you don't, you can get lost.
Yeah, I agree. There definitely is a 1% in my industry that is constantly booking, constantly on tour. And so I definitely want to just give them that because it's true. That's what I was striving for. And so I got myself into a program called Troop. Shout out Antoine Troop. And he was what I looked at it as an accelerated path to making those connections and polishing myself to get to big stage. And then I found out that I was pregnant.
You just wake up one day,
And I was
boom.
just like, so I did his camp in December, and it was his off-season camp, which I'm hoping to get back into this year. So they did off-season camp, and just during that time, I remember just feeling physically like, there's something up here. And right after the program finished, I woke up one day and I remember going out to eat with somebody, my mentor, and I walked into the restaurant. I couldn't stand it, and I was like, "Oh no." And so that very day I was there, I finished the meeting with my mentor, didn't have anything to eat, and he was like, "Something's wrong with you." And I was like,
Right.
"Yeah, I think so too." And so I went and immediately got a test, and I took the test and I found out that I was pregnant. And so you can imagine the disappointment and the devastation that was in my heart because I felt so close to something.
You're
Like
about to go on tour, huh?
I felt so close to I don't know necessarily if um I was gonna go on tour just as much as I was ready to get that audition and eat it up.
Mhm.
I was ready to go to that audition and show out what all the skills that I've acquired in the past 6 months. Um, and so it was really hard for me to accept where I was. But then this is a good transition into where my faith lies. Um, and I love Jesus. I obviously named my daughter Christian because we're Christian. Yes, that's my daughter.
Shout out KT. Oh my
Yes, Katie.
gosh.
Yes.
This is the picture.
And of course you see the cross around my neck. And I really hold my faith so close to me. And there was no way that I was going to get through this without my steadfast relationship with Christ. And in this process, I really realized that I was slave to my sport. And there was a lot
Yeah.
of idolatry there because that was the rock. Like dance was my foundation, the industry and being on big stage was the stand for me. And that is that I had to take a I had to let go of that, you know what I mean? And another thing
Let go and let God.
yeah, I had to let go and let God. And another thing just to highlight, on Thanksgiving, which is right around the corner, I will be 365 days, 1 year clean, completely clean.
Wow.
So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
even if I would have gotten to book this job and go on a tour or just book a show, like aside from a tour, just book a show or whatever with like a major artist. A lot of things come with that. Like, after you want to go out and you want to party, you want to have drinks. And I was way too fragile to not possibly fall back into sorry, fall back into my old ways of doing drugs and abusing alcohol. So this just goes to say that my daughter saved my life and is what needed to happen for me and what was next for me, because at this point, when you're so deep into the industry, you're thinking that, like, if you don't achieve this, then you're not good
Mhm.
at anything. You're not good enough.
Mhm.
But that's not the truth. You know what I mean? My identity lies in Christ, not in being a dancer, you know? Not even being a mom. You know what I mean? My identity doesn't lay there. My identity lies in my relationship with God. So,
Wow.
yeah.
That's
These
crazy.
yeah, sitting down for 9 months to answer your question and sum it up. Sitting down for 9 months was really hard for me, and I cried a lot, and, it was devastating for a point in time, but I realized that the work that was doing inside of me was better for the longevity of my life and my career.
So, in being I don't really know I'm the entertainment space, like, people think sports and entertainment is the same thing. It's really not.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know anything about sports. I don't know anything about athletes. I'm not athletic. I don't do these things. Like, that is all you. I used to when we were growing up, I used to make fun of myself, and we have this cousin, and so it was just the trio of us, and I used to say, "My sister dances, my cousin sings, and I just read books." And to this day, that is still true,
Yeah.
but, like, I don't know anything about what you do
Yeah.
because I can't do it myself. So, like, I see other people on this journey to motherhood and, like, yeah, they work at a desk. They work, at a factory, they do these they can find it's just completely different. So,
Mhm.
what does that look like for you going forward? Because I remember at one point we had a conversation where you're like, I don't know other people who have went through this to advise me.
Yeah. So a lot of people who are professional dancers in the industry, they go on to do like brand work. Like I know one girl, she danced in all the big things. She did the Super Bowl. She's done the Victoria's Secret fashion show. She's done all these things, and then she moved on to now she styles for Nike.
Wow.
Yeah, and then I know other people who transition into being a choreographer or working close with the artist, becoming their assistant and doing all these types of things, which I think is great. I think for me, the industry is not necessarily the place that I'm able to be in right now for how fragile I am in my sobriety journey. But I think that
It's a
moving
dangerous
forward,
place.
yeah. I think that moving forward, I still am going to want to teach. I think that that's always been my calling. Like, you know, how I had said
Yeah.
before, I never grew up like wanting to be in these music videos and thinking about big stage or anything like that. That was never the goal. I just assumed that I was going to come to LA, gather all that I could, maybe go back to Pennsylvania and open up a studio. I know that I don't want to open up a studio. Um,
Hey, I said I never wanted to have my own law firm.
yeah, I don't wanna open up a studio, I would say, because I've watched a lot of people do that, and when you're in the position of owning a studio, it kinda takes away from what you really actually wanna do, which is
Teach.
put on, shows and teach and make productions. But when you own the studio, you have to worry about
The admin
yeah, the
side.
admin work of it, and then you have people's parents calling you like, "Why isn't my kid in the front?" Like, all that, no, I just wanna show up, do what I'm hired to do, and then let the people who own the studio take care of the rest of the
Yeah.
things. But I'm also looking forward to, aside from even teaching at a studio, doing a dance team at, like, the high schools. So there's so many different ways
Are
and
there any
routes.
teachers in our family? Because why do we both want to be teachers?
I don't know.
That's
I
weird.
think that could just be a calling that we have on I think mainly because we didn't really have anybody to teach us things.
Be who you needed when you were growing up.
I think that we've had a lot of examples of what not to do.
Yeah.
To where and we've come out to be well-rounded humans, to be
Praise God.
yeah, and
Ah.
definitely want to go out and share testimony in that way
Mhm.
and be like nurturing. Here, this is how you do this. Oh, you don't know how? I'll show you how.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Because that's what we didn't really have. So I
Yeah.
could see that for sure.
I also we both actually the three of us all got baptized within the last year and a half too, which
Yes.
is really cool.
Well, what we realized in the Christian faith, because I was baptized Catholic as a kid,
Me
and
too.
so was her dad. Shout out her dad, JC J. We were all baptized, and so we figured that that's what we were going to do for Christian. But in the Christian faith, baptisms isn't necessarily something that you do until you choose. So what we
Mm.
did was dedicate her to the Lord. Like in the Old Testament, she would be our burnt offering. But
Okay.
obviously we live in the world that we do. So we just dedicated her to Christ, and it's our job now to pray over her, to teach her the word, and it goes outside of like on Sundays, like when she gets to the point where she gets to go to what is that place that built like the kids zone?
Oh, yeah,
Like
kids'
kids
church.
church.
Mhm.
Yeah, like on even on the outside of that, it's like our responsibility to really use the resources that we have and the knowledge that we have to tell her about Christ. And then I'm hoping that when she's 7, 8, 9 years old and has the consciousness of a kid, that she will decide that she wants to
Mhm.
get baptized. So then we'll do it all again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen when they do the baptisms at Oasis, how they do it above the stage.
Yeah.
That is so beautiful to me,
Yeah.
that
Yeah. Yeah.
that space.
I got
But
baptized in there before.
yeah, so
Mhm.
I saw the last time I went, I ran into one of my lawyer bae friends.
Yeah.
And she was getting baptized, so I stuck around for it. And there were like kids like maybe 8, 9, 10,
Mhm.
that were choosing to get baptized.
Yeah,
That was really
because
nice.
because it is a choice.
Mhm.
Do you want to give your life? Do you want to accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior? You know what I mean? And so I want her to make that choice.
Yeah, because
And
being baptized Catholic, I never practiced Catholicism
me neither.
ever.
Me
Like I went
neither.
to church with you
It's very
guys
performative.
maybe like 2 or 3 times, and I was so confused. I was so uncomfortable. And that's the thing, like when people say, "Oh, I don't like church. I don't want to go because I'm uncomfortable." Blah, blah, blah," I get that.
Right.
But it's not all church.
Right.
It's not every room. Like you have to find a place that makes you want to listen. It's not about the building.
Right.
It's not about the pastor. It's not about the place.
Yeah.
It's about what you're comfortable with so you can receive
Yeah.
the
And
word.
I would like to speak to that. I think that a long time, I was, I had this in my head that I came to LA to dance. Or that I was running away from home because that's a big part of it too.
Mhm.
But in the last year, or in the last couple of months, I've realized that I came here to build a stronger relationship with Jesus. Like my
He called
church.
you here.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And I knew that from way back because I've been
And
Christian
I
for
followed your ass. So I was following him too.
I've been Christian for about I would say about 10 years now, like in a choice that I had made. And when I was coming over here, when I'm telling you, he did everything that he could to make sure that this went through because before I came, I mean, I was wrapped up in drugs, I was wrapped up in nasty boys.
Wait,
And
can we talk about everything you had to go through to get on that plane that day?
hell and high water.
Oh my gosh.
I mean,
I will never forget this.
yeah, my things were stolen. Like there was
All of her stuff, everything she ever owned was thrown into a river.
a river.
Thrown into a river. Her
Yeah.
phone, her ID, her clothes, everything she even owned. And the flight was what, a couple hours later?
So yeah, the flight. And here's the thing: I was supposed to leave the day before, and I went to the wrong airport. Cried. This sweet lady, this sweet beautiful lady, she gave me a ticket for the following day,
Mhm.
no charge. And so I left, and I was in an abusive relationship at the time. Verbally, I wouldn't say this person was, but not physically, but a verbally abusive relationship with a narcissist. And since I had one more day, I was like, I'm gonna go spend it with my family. Well, he wasn't really happy about that.
First-
And so I was only supposed to leave for a little bit. And while I was gone, he threw all my stuff away, wouldn't answer the phones. There was a lot of things that happened. Mind you, the whole summer he was talking like, so what are you gonna do over there? Oh, you ain't making it over there. You ain't gonna do that, blah, blah, blah.
And y'all better never let somebody's raggedy ass son talk you out of your dreams and your goals.
Yeah.
Okay? I made her get on the plane with nothing but a purse.
No, yeah. Well, I had called my sister. I was like, so what should I do? You know what I mean? And she's like, get on. And I was like, okay. Mind you, we made many attempts to go collect the items, and it was just, I had to take it to Facebook. Not my proudest moment, but I had to take it to Facebook.
Okay, you had a Halle Bailey moment. It's completely fine.
Yeah,
We've all been
But
there.
aside from that, I really lost the support of my family at the time because I had been acting so crazy
Yeah.
beforehand. And so it was really just me and the Lord, and I made it over here. Mind you, I didn't know anything about the school. I just know that I was going. I had the $900 to pay my rent. I had the 994. I've been paying almost $1,000 to live here since 2017. And my rent has only gone up. So my whole adult life, I have paid. I mean, I couldn't even imagine to calculate how much
I don't wanna think about it. I
thousands.
calculated my next year of rent to just get it out the way, and that really, like, hurt my soul.
Yeah, and so, but
LA is not for the weak, honey.
all this
I'm
to
a
say, because maybe I'll have to start a pod and get deep into these things. But all
do
this,
it!
all of this to say, like, where there was a will, there was a way,
Mhm.
and the way was made for me. And I've maintained a lifestyle here for over 7 years. And I've seen a lot of people come and go because it's not what God has for them. This is what God has for me. And it's not the industry stuff.
Right.
No, no, no. It was my relationship with him, and then that would lead me into my next point of, like, pursuing Bible College 2025
Wow.
because, I'm really passionate about the word and spreading the gospel, and it took a lot of dismantling throughout this past year to get to the point of where we are now.
Right. I had a some statistics I wanted to give to you.
Period.
Now that you're
School
in
me.
your postpartum,
School me.
that's what I do.
Educate me.
So in being that a lot of people may be experiencing this and they don't have anybody in their sport or their trade that have gone through motherhood to talk to,
Mhm.
I just want you to know that you are not going to be your normal self for a minimum of 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah.
That means your body, that means your brain, that means your thought process, that means your energy. So for literally a period of 6 to 8 weeks, that's the minimum.
Yeah. Right.
It could be longer. It could be,
With the dinner plate
internal.
size wound that you have inside.
Exactly. So a lot of people who don't have the opportunity to not go back to work 2 weeks after they give birth, I feel like that's like something that our country really fails on.
Mhm.
Um, because I don't want to get out of bed and do things now.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I
Right.
don't. And 2 months after birth, like that's the minimum.
Yeah.
That's the minimum. You just got there.
Yeah.
And so the other one was um 41 countries offer paid maternity leave. Not. The only country among 41 nations that does not mandate maternity leave for parents is America.
Yeah.
All 54 countries in Africa guarantee maternity leave. But 62% of countries provide at least 14 weeks.
Yeah.
14 weeks. Imagine what life would be like if you didn't have to worry for 14 weeks
Right.
after birth.
Right. It's ridiculous, and
Paid.
right, and a lot of those people don't even consider the toll that breastfeeding takes
Mhm.
as well. Um
And that can be
and there's no
years.
mom shame because even if you're feeding your baby from a bottle, it's still exhausting. But breastfeeding really takes a lot out of you. And I seen somebody say one time, like, if all you were able to do was feed your baby today, then you've done more than enough.
Right.
Because of, you know what I mean? It really is exhausting.
That's good.
Yeah, it's crazy, and there should be more support. I know in the Ukraine, like, you get sent with a box of, like a from the government of, like, Pampers, wipes, like, toys, like, your first, like, the little grooming kits.
Mhm.
Yeah, like, they give you that when you
I
come
was
home with
surprised
your
the
baby.
hospital let you leave with a blanket and a breast pump. I was shocked. Wow, they're
Yeah.
nice here.
Right, right, right.
But everybody at the end of the day, the moral of the story is being a mom is the toughest and most rewarding and the hardest job that there ever could be. And I don't think that we talk about it enough,
Yeah.
especially in today's society.
Yeah.
Um and all, like, the hate and the disdain and the control over women, like, it's really just tough, and I haven't been there to experience it yet, but I'm watching it, and I've taken care of other people's kids, you know what I mean? It's not a
Yeah.
joke, and especially in the entertainment industry, people make it look so, like, easy and cute online, but it's not always rainbows and butterflies, so it's okay. You just have to give yourself grace.
Yeah.
You have to give yourself grace and find, stability in your
Right.
faith,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And I would say, just in closing, like, it's been hard. The hardest part of my journey so far is being okay with, and I say this like with air quotes, just being a mom, because I have been on a hustle and a grind to maintain and give myself stability in living here, that now having to sit down as such an independent person, having to sit down and let other people help me and other people take care of
It's
me
hard.
while we're getting back on our feet has been such a struggle for me. And um I've been trying to find my peace in where I'm at right now, because I know that these are days that I'm not going to get back. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I want to go out and get a job so bad and get back to work and go back to dance class and do all of these things. But I also just want to focus on, her being this little and sucking up every moment that we have together. And so I'm really just trying to find my peace in where I am right now. And that's something that I fight to get through every day. Especially because it really is, we do have amazing friends and amazing family to help us out, but at the end of the day, it really just is me and her dad. Like, I would say
And
90
that's a blessing,
95. Yeah, I have her dad.
and
Yeah,
that's a
he's amazing.
blessing.
95% of the time. And so I'm trying not to jump the gun and get back into things, like, cause I know, like, I was just asked, like, "So what about your career?" Like, I'm like, I'm just trying to focus on my daughter."
Right,
You know what I mean? And
right.
finding the peace in that,
And
because
honestly,
I'm a
like,
busybody.
I don't think I even told you this, and you said you have a question for me that
Yeah.
you wanted to ask, so we can do that too, but, I never took into account how crazy it is to be completely on your own.
Yeah.
Like, whenever we were going through the birth process, we have to get to the hospital. Someone has to stay with you. Someone has to watch the kids. We had our sister for the summer. Someone has to go get the car. Someone has to pick you up. Someone has to, like, just imagining, because I used to be like, I personally don't give a damn. I just want a baby. You could be not shit. Bye. I don't need you. But
Yeah.
guess what?
My
Like,
little sister said
how?
something about that too. She was like, "I just want a baby, not the baby daddy." I was
Right.
like,
Right. Because y'all,
I was with
hell,
my other
like,
friend and he who has a kid, and he was like, "Is she okay? Because why would you wanna do that?"
I, and
I couldn't
now
imagine.
watching, like, being there for you and seeing you become a mother, and, like, the blessing that it was to have me and him and our friends, like, all switching off, because even if we don't need to do anything for you,
Yeah.
we need to be there with you.
Yeah.
So that just really changed my perspective
Yeah.
on not giving a damn because I'm getting to a certain age or whatever, and I just want to have a kid. Like, who wants to do that alone?
No, yeah, it's really important, especially
To
those.
specifically choose to
Yeah.
know that you're going to do that alone?
Yeah, especially because people don't take into account, if you're not a mother already, what the nighttime looks like.
Right.
Like, because in the daytime, everybody wants to, like, "Can I hold the baby? Can I do this? Can I do that?" Blah, blah, blah. But at night, when it's just you or just you and your man, or what if he has, when your baby wakes up every 2 hours, every 3 hours or whatever, like, that is not for the weak. And, like, it to the point, like, I'm, like, physically crying. He's like, "I got her." Like, you need somebody
Mhm.
like that. Not everybody has the money to hire a night nurse, or you know what I mean? Or not everybody has their mother with them. You know what I mean?
Don't
Because
we know
that's
it?
right. So it's just like, really be intentional about who you pick. Even if, and I'm not even going to shame anybody, even if you don't stay with your partner, it would be nice to have your partner to be there
To
with you.
call when you
Yeah, to be
need.
there
Yeah.
with you, like, especially in those first, because now she's starting to sleep through the night, but she still wakes up at 4 to have her little snack. She still wakes up at 6. You know what I mean? But when it was that every 2 hours, oh my goodness, you need somebody.
Yeah.
So yeah. So do you want me
Definitely
to
a
ask my
blessing.
question?
Yes, I'm proud of you,
Thank you.
by the way.
Thank you. Thank you. I really needed to hear that.
No, like, thank you. Like, are you kidding me?
I know, and guys, we've been on for 36 minutes and all
Hey,
she has
y'all
done
y'all
all
heard a
she
little
did was a
giggle.
coup,
Right.
like, she's such a good baby. Oh, also, we prayed every day of my pregnancy that we would have a calm baby, and that's what we got. So just really be intentional what you want from your child or what you wanna have, like, if you want them
You
to
have
be
to pray specifically. You have to pray
yeah,
specifically. You have to pray constantly. You have to pray
intentionally.
intentionally.
Yeah.
That's good.
With all your might and repeatedly. But okay, so what I want to ask you, because I'm sure there's some other people in our life who know these things, but I don't. So I wanted to ask, like, what do you want? Like, what is next for you? Like, I remember the last time we made vision boards in like 2019, and you were like, you're gonna be really surprised
Oh,
at
now
what's
she's talking.
right, what's on here, and it was marriage and a kid because that's not something that you wanted before. So, like, what's on your vision board? Like, do you want to get married? Do you want to have a kid? Like, what do you like? What do you want out of life? And what active steps are you
Mm.
taking to obtain this goal?
That's a heavy question, and I wasn't prepared for this. This wasn't on my episode vision board. But I am currently, at the end of the day, big vision. If I could just, since I'm just a manager, if I could just be a manager of talent and have this big, all these resources to pull from and create this empire, like, I see myself being like a quality control or a TDE. Like, not necessarily a label, but like that, like,
Yeah,
I saw this post that was for the BET Awards, and it was like all the people who are nominated for the awards by management.
yeah,
It was like QC has 2, TDE has 3, what, I can't even think of other people off the top of my head, but and I was just like, damn,
yeah.
that's gonna be me.
Right.
That's gonna be
That's
me.
your career goal, though.
Yeah.
That's your career goal.
Oh, I thought that was the question.
No, I'm just saying, like, as a person, like, when there is no legal queen, when there is no royalty room, like, what do you want for yourself at the core?
I mean, of course I want my man.
Mhm.
Of course I want my man,
Yeah.
but the men that I have to pull from are really not shit.
Yeah.
At least as of late,
Yeah.
at least within this city industry situation
Yeah.
thing that I'm in,
Mhm.
so of course, like, I'm really a lover girl.
Yeah.
Like, you of all people should know, like, I really am, like, end all be all, whatever you need, the shirt off my back, the pennies in my bank account, whatever it is. I live to take care of people.
Yeah.
Like, that's been my thing since I was 5 years old, and we were in the house and the projects together by ourselves
Yeah.
for a week at a time.
Right.
I
Candy in the fridge.
ki- breakfast. You mean? I've been taking care of people all my life, and people are like, "Oh, you need to focus on yourself." Blah, blah, blah. I derive my happiness and my fulfillment from taking care of others.
Mhm.
So, of course, the end all be all is my man
Mhm.
and starting a family and doing all these things. But at this point, at my big old age, I'm starting to realize I'm not settling.
Right.
So it may take me a while to get there, because it's a lot of bullshit.
Yeah.
And I said it on another episode. Like, I've been out here for 5 years, and it's been 5 years of nightmares.
Yeah.
Like, because everybody wants to use me for connections or for legal and management or for, my house or, my what, like, whatever. You want to use me, you want to take advantage of me, to you want to have a poly relationship. Like, what the fuck? Bro, like, we're normal people. I don't
Right.
know. I'm having a hard time finding normal candidates
Yeah.
to date.
Yeah, and I would say that I think a lot of that comes from because you have to be in these spaces for your career,
Mhm.
that's where your pool is coming from.
Mm.
But that's not where you're gonna find the husband that you're talking about.
Mm.
You ain't gonna find your husband there.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And
So she asked me this question to prove a point, is what she's saying. I said all that for you to say all that. Heard. It's not, I didn't choose this life. Okay, the life chose me.
Yeah.
But
Same.
while we talking about this, I do want to shout out this jersey that I got on because AV Legal number 7, we got Legal Queen LA on the
Oh,
back.
I don't think your mic can.
Oh,
I don't want to
oh,
move your mic.
oh, Legal Queen LA on the back. Okay, thank you to my ex. Thank you to my ex for getting me this nice shirt. I will be making them. And on the front, they'll say, talk to my lawyer. On the back, they'll say Legal Queen LA. So if y'all want to get some, put it in the comments. Let me know.
And they're gonna come basketball, football, and
Basketball, football, baseball. We're going to do it
hockey.
seasonal. I was going to
Hockey.
go to a Kings game last week. I was. But yes, talk to my lawyer because for now, I'm focused on my career, I guess.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming.
Of course.
This was really nice. I feel like it was also another therapeutic episode,
Yeah.
like we had before with Sneha.
Mm-hmm.
But moral of the story, we're on the royalty room. Thank you guys for watching. I'm Legal Queen LA, Ashley Valenzuela. Y'all better like, comment, subscribe, share it to somebody. You never know who this could help. And that's really my biggest thing is paying it forward. The knowledge that we have and the things that we go through are completely useless if we're not sharing the stories. And I have a platform and I want to use it for the good and not the evil, and spreading knowledge, whether that's about law or whether that's about life. And that's what we're going to do. So thank you for watching the Royalty Room. And, news for everybody before we go. Royalty Room trademark just got registered. Your girl owns the trademark. Okay, Royalty Room is not going anywhere. We're locked in. And I think it was February. We had 22222, February 22nd, 2022. That's when the idea, I was like, I'm going to call my show Royalty Room. That just happened on that date. So that anniversary is coming up in February. So that just goes to show how long it takes to get a trademark filed and registered. It takes a long time. So if you need one, call me. Royalty Room. We're going to put the TM next to the logo because it's ours. Okay. See y'all next time.
Bye.